Hey everybody, my name is Liz Brownlee. I'm the grant coordinator for the Youth Educator Program, and I'm in Indiana, on my farm. And I've worked as a youth educator in the past. And my partner in crime today is Marie Flanagan. Marie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Marie Flanagan. I'm the communications specialist for North Central Region SARE. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota today.
And we're so glad to have all of you guys on and to help you hopefully demystify how reporting works, because you've been doing such excellent work and we really are excited to see it ripple out. And so your report is one piece of that puzzle. We're going to mostly focus on reporting, um, how to create a report that's useful to other educators, how to navigate the online system, um, other topics for managing your grant in case you're worried about extensions or budget updates, things like that. And then at the end, breakout rooms where y'all can talk to each other. You see my animation didn't work there. That checklist on the right was supposed to come in afterwards, but one thing to know is I'm going to share all the slides with you, and this recording and a checklist that should make it easier to report. It's going to walk you through each step of it. So don't feel like you have to scribble down every single thing that I'm saying this evening. Okay, so before we dive in, Marie, would you bring up that poll that says, how are you feeling about your project? I'm just curious to get a read of the room. So you're really a confident bunch. Everybody's excited and confident and energized. That's wonderful. It's also okay if you're not. We're here for that too. Um, I have one other question for you, which is, what do you need to learn today? It looks like lots of folks are interested in just in general, how do we do this reporting? How does this work? And if I'm wrapping up my project, how do I get the end of my funds? How to report in on your budget and how to acknowledge SARE in the outreach materials. Good thing we have Marie here. Um, okay, so let's dive in. I like to start with the big picture context. That's the way my brain works. So hopefully we'll zoom in together. Why do we even ask you to do these reports? It's because we want to avoid other people who are interested in the same things recreating the wheel. The whole idea with these grants is that you're trying out a new thing, so that maybe others don't have to. And that's why you have the financial cushion to carry out the project. And so the reports become public. Not every piece of it, the budget is not public, but everything else is. So we're trying to help facilitate educator to educator learning through our database of all the projects we've ever funded. The reporting also gives us a chance to just touch base with each grantee to see how the project is unfolding and if there are ways we can help as a staff. Making sure your project's on track and you're spending money. And then, obviously, for those of you who are looking at your final reports, or if it's a one-year project and you're looking at a final report, so we can pay you. So I did get this question recently, like who should actually be filling this out? If you are the lead applicant, you should fill it out, but many of you work with collaborative teams or maybe small nonprofits or school systems. If there's somebody else on your team who should also have access to drafting the report directly, just let me know and we can get them set up with an account on projects.sare.org. Um, I had somebody recently say like we're a small team and we don't know I don't know if has always have access because of two-step verification. And I said, oh, we can make this easier. So I wanted to highlight that because I've struggled with that too when I've been part of a small team. Okay, so what are the sections of the report? You can see them here. And basically each section has a couple of questions. The ones with the asterisks are auto-populated from your proposal, so you're just going to have to update those. And the others, you get to start typing into them. What sorts of things are you going to be asked? It's what you hopefully would expect. What have you accomplished so far? Did you make progress on your objectives? How much of the grant money did you spend? What have you learned? What data do you have? How did you share what you learned? How many youth attended your events? Things like that. Um, what curricula did you use? Whether you made it from scratch or something that you used and want to give some insights about. And so you're just going to walk through the questions one by one, hopefully a relatively painless process. I suspect most of you could do it in, you know, a weekend, um, or over the course of a weekend. It wouldn't take you all weekend. So I'm curious if you would type into the chat what you'd like to see in a report. If you're reading someone else's project, youth educator project, what kind of information would you be hoping for? Okay, we've got a couple coming in, a timeline, action items, curriculum sources. Yeah, nice executive summary, progress against the schedule, right? Here's what we meant to do. Here's how it actually happened. Um, Big bullet points so it's quick and easy to see. And ooh, I like that. Lasagna, what did you do to bring youth to the table? Yeah, just the status. Like, where are you within the projects? Things to avoid. Oh, encouragement. Oh, that's so nice. These are all beautiful, you guys, and I think those are the sorts of things to have in mind as you're crafting your own report. You know, this is not an academic document. This is for your fellow educators, um, and we want it to be, you know, not the Instagram version of what you did, but just the real honest sharing out of what worked, what didn't, um, and things that are going to help others on their journey. Okay, so let's get into the weeds a little bit now that we have the context. Some of you are going to be filling out a progress report, and some of you are going to be filling out a final report. It used to be that almost all of our projects were 2-year projects. And so I'm going to tell you what that timeline normally, I don't know if I even want to use the word normally, would look like if you had 2-year projects. So if you're in year one right now, you would have a progress report due at the end of year one. That's January 15 of 2026. You have to report on some basic things. You have to update the budget, but that's all. If you were coming to the end of your 2-year project, that'd be February 15, you'd have a final report due, and you have to answer every single question. Um, some of you are now doing 1-year projects. You've condensed the timeline a little bit, which is fine by us. Um, And so you might just be at the end of year one, but it's a 1-year project. So if you're filling out a final report, it means that your project is coming to a close. Might be now at the end of year one, might be at the end of year two. It's fine either way. But those are the deadlines you're looking at. Um, if you're submitting a final report earlier than your, 23-month official end date, please tell us so, either in your report or just email. Um, Otherwise, we're going to end up trading emails with you saying, like, oh, is this a final report or is this not a final report? Saves you a little time. And note that these reports build on each other. So it's an iterative report. Everything, when you submit your progress report and then a year later come in for your final, everything you already said is still going to be there. You're just going to be able to add to it. And that hopefully will make it easy. It also means that if you're just doing a progress report, the more of the data or photos or things like that that you might have that you want to go ahead and dump in there, probably the better because you can, they're sort of already there. You don't have to keep track of them for a whole nother year. Another thing that I want to make sure y'all know is that you have to fill out the budget. This is the very first thing we look at. We actually have a team of a couple people who do the report reviews because we have so many of them coming in at once. And my colleague Kate will look at these, and if the budget's not done, she kicks it right back to you. She doesn't even pass it to me to look at your narrative. So this is the thing most likely to slow down getting your report approved. And I'm going to show you how to go through line by line and tell us how much you've spent. For a progress report, ideally you'll have spent about half the funds. That's a very rough number, half. And for a final report, we want you to have $0 left. We really want you to spend all the funds because they are awarded to you. And reminder that the budget is not visible to the public, which is both good for your sort of like privacy and also if you want others to know anything about the economics involved, like, we bought these kits and they cost this much money, or we made this thing ourselves and saved this many dollars over the thing you could buy off the shelf. Add that in your narrative so that other educators can learn from that. Couple more things here. Can you submit a report early? For sure. Because our funding was so delayed this year, we have a major workload coming this winter where a bunch of work is going to be crunched into a few months. And so if you want to submit your report early, we'll likely be able to review it and get you your next chunk of funding more quickly, specifically for those doing that final report when they get that last 25%. Okay, so what are you actually going to write? Here are the questions that SARE staff is really going to be asking as we review your report. And if you don't address them on your own, we're probably just going to email you and ask you. So that just takes longer. Fine by us. But we like to get folks through this sort of gracefully and easily. So what I recommend people do is look back at your proposal. Remember, that's the plan of work in your contract. It's what you said you'd do. And you're going to walk us through the answers to these sorts of questions. What were your objectives and have you reached them? The objectives are actually auto-populated right into your report. What was your plan for evaluation of youth learning and did you collect that data and what did you learn from it? What outreach did you do for other educators and how did it go? Those are some of the key ones. We're also going to be looking to see, did you spend the money? Okay, but what if things didn't go quite according to plan? That is okay. These are applied projects. We're not in some sort of controlled situation. In your report, you can share what impacted your plan and how you move forward. Um, Price of something changed, the number of classrooms that were engaging in the project changed, etc. If it's a small change, hey, that happens. If it's a major change, let me know and let's talk about it. Um, and let's say you're at the end of your project and you didn't do everything in your proposal, your plan of work. Obviously, if it's year one, you can just update your to-do list and still tackle it. We don't care if the timeline changed a little bit. But for those of you in year two, go ahead and talk to us about, in the report, talk us through what you didn't accomplish and if and how you adapted. Um, it's very rare that we have somebody say, like, I had these four objectives and I only did one of them, right? But if you had four objectives and you got through the first three and the last one just wasn't able to happen, tell us why, lay it out, and then we move on. It's okay. Okay, you guys ready to have instructions or are there any questions out there before we get into the nitty-gritty? Peek at the chat. Yes, this presentation will be sent out. Yeah, we'll have a recording and I'll have like timestamps to different parts of it for you. Yeah, for sure. Well, Sonia, what's your question about 2027?
That's when I was looking at when mine said.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at the paperwork. So it says let me see what that says. I think it says my first submit my progress report by February 15th, 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
then final is the 2027. So
Precisely.
okay, so I was just trying to see if I needed to do anything yet.
You'll have a progress report due that February 2026, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
That'll be due then. You can always do it earlier, right? And just check
Okay.
that off your list. And then
Okay.
your final report is due in early 2027. If you finish early, you did all the things and you spent all the money, you can report
Hmm.
anytime before that, but there's no need to. If it takes the full 23 months, great. That's great too.
Okay. And then after you submitted that, just to make sure, then you can submit for the rest of the money.
Correct. After you have the final
Okay.
report in, that
Final
triggers us
report.
to pay
Okay.
you the last 25%.
Gotcha. Okay. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Nice. I'm glad you asked. I'm sure it was on other people's minds too. Um, okay, so we have an online reporting system. It's the same thing you use to apply. Um, I have play-by-play instructions at the end of this slideshow. I'm gonna send it to you. It shows you like button by button what to press. But right now, let's just go through some of the key things. I think of this as having kind of six steps. One, you got to sign in. Two, you write your narrative parts of your report. Three, add photos and media if you want. Four, you update your budget. Five, you add any information products. And we're going to talk about those. That would be like lesson plans or handouts you developed or videos for other educators, curricula, etc. And six, you press submit. So a few things to know on those six items. remember it's projects.sare.org. You're going to log in. If you forgot your login, like I did when I was a grantee about a decade ago, your username is probably the email that I used to invite you to this very webinar. You're going to click on Manage My Grants or Manage My Grant Proposals, and you're going to see the projects. And some of you may have multiple because you've had different types of projects with us. Some may just have one listed. You'll click on that. And then once you're in, you're going to see a screen that looks somewhat like this. I think, should click on Proposal and go ahead and open that in a separate tab so that you can see, like, oh yeah, what did I say I was going to do? And then to open the report itself, it's that working version that you see there in green. You're going to click on that to open the report. In terms of the narrative, remember minimum for those progress report folks, you're sharing what you've accomplished so far, the progress you've made on each objective, and your plan for the coming year. There are going to be sections that you may not be ready to answer. Let's say you haven't done any outreach to other educators yet because the project's not done. That's fine. You can just type in something like, this is planned for year 2. I think zooming out and looking at your proposal is always a good choice, whether it's progress report or final report, but these questions are especially important for your final report. So I'll let you peek at those for a second. In the final report, also, you're going to have to answer all the sections. You can't press submit unless you do. So you're going to add to what you include in the progress report. You're going to make corrections. And sometimes people just leave what was there and they just add a year 2 update in each section. That's totally fine. The other thing for the final report, and this is new, is to convert the summary section from future tense, because it's auto-populated from your proposal. You were saying, like, here's what we're going to do, into past tense, showing what you actually did. And that question actually has 4 prompts to it. You can see them there. And that's going to let other educators quickly see, is it worth reading the rest of the report? Like, are they in the right place to learn about what they're trying to do in their classrooms or on the farms where they educate? When you're going to add photos and media, there's a button that you can press for adding media, and you're going to give it, alt text and a title. You can include your project number in that title. That'll be really helpful. Key note for our youth educator projects is that you need photo permissions if you have youth involved and you're adding any of those photos to the report. And like I told you in the spring, it must use our form. Even if you have one that you already use for your programming, for this grant, we have to use the one that the USDA lawyers say we have to. So the link is there, and that'll be in the slides when I send them to you. You could also just upload photos that don't include youth. Or you don't have to include photos at all, but they're fun. And you're going to update your budget. So as you're gathering your receipts and stuff, remember, we don't have to see those. You're just going to tell us how much you spent on your different line items. And I think just the reminder here is that this is a key piece of the puzzle, and ideally you spend all the monies. If you're coming towards the end of your project and you haven't spent all of the money, get in touch with me. Let's hop on the phone and chat it through. Oftentimes people, they're much like me. I try to save money anytime I can. I'm used to working on a budget. And so I end up saving a little here and a little there and a little there. And all of a sudden I've got $500 at the end, but nothing specific that I need, to finish up the project. Sometimes educators will say, well, can I use that for some supplies for next year? Technically, no. The grant money has to be spent during the grant period for things you're doing during the grant period. But often when I talk to people, we realize together, like, oh, I went way over how much time I thought it would take me, and I actually volunteered a lot of my time. We could still use that money to pay you for your time, the work that you already put in, or if you had a volunteer or an intern or somebody like that who's helping with the project, that could work as a stipend or something like that. Yeah, let's chat if you have any concerns on that front. Okay, you're going to add information products. Oftentimes our youth educator grants do this. you're putting together a lesson plan, some sort of educational product, a game, a book, I don't know what. We want you to share those out for other educators to utilize, but the products must contain acknowledgement of SARE support. This is a USDA rule, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Just kidding. That link will show you how to do that. I think I've got it a little later in the slides, and we'll talk to Marie about it too. And then last but not least, you're going to press submit. Sometimes people save because you always save as you go with our system, but then they don't remember to press submit. So make sure you press submit. It's a little clunky. And then that'll cue us to review your report and approve it as is or ask follow-up questions if we need. And then once it's approved, if it's your final report, you'll get your final payment. Okay, I would like to show you guys what this looks like live. So, here we go. This is Florence's project. She's here on the call, and this is what it looks like once she's signed into SARE. She can click on her proposal, and if she was working on her report, she might open that in a new tab so that she could easily look at what she said she'd do, or refresh herself on her end dates, things like that. And then to start her report, she'd click the working version, and then that opens this up, and she's not going to see the go to approve report, but notice that all your edit buttons are in green, and you're going to edit anything you want. Like, let's say she was done with her project and she wanted to edit the summary and make it past tense. She would click edit, and it would give you a text box where she can work. And it has those 4 prompts I told you about. And, you know, right now it's all future tense. We will provide 2 rounds of a 4-week course, etc. So she's going to go through and make that past tense based on what she actually did, and then she's going to press save. And then that's just going to kick her back to kind of the main page. Sometimes I like to use this handy collapse all button because then I can see quickly all the sections. And maybe today I really want to work on my education and outreach activities. So there's nothing in there yet. I can click the green edit and I can start entering some numbers like, oh, we made 1 education tool. We did 2 on-farm trainings, and we had 3 field days. Just making this up, right? And the number of farmers and ranchers who participated, the youth, etc. You can start typing in numbers. You can start typing in all sorts of fun stuff here. And so you just work through these sections and you press save. I'm not going to. I'm gonna press cancel so I don't mess her up. The other thing to note is on the budget, because it does look different than everybody else. So if we open the budget, we can see what we said we would, purchase and how much we were approved for. You can ignore this revised budget line unless you've had to have a budget update. And then it would be awfully handy if we could just start typing right into this table. Oh yeah, I did spend those $150 on my craft supplies. And yep, the class experiment supplies were right at 300. Well, it's not set up that way. So to enter how much you've spent in the year of the grant that you're in, you're actually going to go to edit. And it's going to come up with a pretty different looking screen. Here's line 1. You see the 1 there. And it's those craft supplies, and it's $150 that was approved. How much did we spend in year 1? Let's say we spent the $150. And that's all I want. Let's say that's all I wanted to report on today. I just wanted to make sure I couldn't forget. Yep, we bought the things that we said we would. I'm going to press save. And it takes me back out to the main page, and I can choose to go to the budget. And now it shows here in the table. Okay, I spent the $150. Total grant funds spent, 150 on that line item. Remaining balance there, 0. If I would have spent 170, it would say -20. It's a nice, it calculates that for you, which is handy. Florence, don't worry. I'm going to go in right now and make that take away what I changed. But I wanted people to be able to see kind of how that works. And so you're just going to go through every single line item for as many as you have and enter the dollar amount. I think that's what I wanted to show you guys there. Any questions while I've got this part pulled up? We'll say no for now. That's great. Let's peek back at our slides here. I did want to highlight just a few other things that might be on your mind. Other topics, sort of catch all. If you have small budget changes, let's say you were planning to buy, something that was going to cost $600 and it costs $650. Great, that's fine. We don't need to know about that in any way except that you put the 650 in your report, but we don't have to approve that. If the changes are over $1,000, you do need prior approval. And basically you're just going to lay out like, oh, I do have a pretty big change, but it's still going to let me pursue that original set of objectives I got approved for. You would just email me about that. I've got a little template that you'd fill out to make that request. We'll get the request into my boss. She'll review it and we'll go from there. That usually takes about a week. Yeah, so don't stress about that, but do be in touch. And again, smaller changes are okay. How about time? So a no-cost extension is where you don't need extra money. Well, we can't give you any extra money, even if you did, but we can't give you extra time. So you can ask for a 6 or 11 month extension. Did weather or other issues prevent you from staying on your timeline? Again, in this case, you just email me. I give you a template to fill out, and we get that request in. We'd love for you to ask for that at least a month before your report, your final report's due. Maybe a little sooner. Because it has to do with sort of the paperwork on our end, getting the money through accounting and things like that. If you're still in year one, but you want to talk about an extension, we usually encourage you to just touch base with us and let's chat through what's going on and see if we can't help get you back on track. And yeah, it's not a big deal. Okay, the other big topic here is information products. So, Marie, I would love for you, if you're game, to unmute and chat with us about these, because Marie's the one who actually reviews these and approves them. She makes sure that they have the SARE logo. And this very long paragraph that you see kind of gray here, I know it's a lot to include on a document, but it's a requirement. And it's going to have, so we've got a link to this, and it's on our website. It's going to have these X's in it, and you're going to fill in a couple of numbers there that are specific to your project. For the really long X's, when you sign into your project, it's going to say co-op agreement, yada, yada, yada. That's where you're going to fill in your really long X's. And then your project number. The youth educator ones all start with YENC, and then the next two numbers are the year that you were granted the money, and then the three numbers are your unique project. So this lets people know that their taxpayer dollars are going to fund really neat and useful work connecting youth to sustainable ag. Marie, what else should we add on that front?
Let's see. Let's say you've developed a product, you've added your acknowledgement language, which is required by USDA, that language. It was handed to us, so that is what we must use. You've created a really nice booklet, let's say, or video. You've added the acknowledgement language, put in the SARE logo, you've uploaded it to your report in the information product section. What happens next after you click submit is I take a look at it, and then I either approve it or respond to you with some questions about it if I have questions. And then it might get promoted. It might get promoted immediately. I might say, this is great. I'm going to send this out over social media next week. It might get promoted in a newsletter 2 issues from now. And so I might get back to you in a year and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that was so long ago. But so that's kind of the nature of how we use products and share them. And so I just wanted you to be aware that just because it's not shared immediately doesn't mean it won't get shared eventually. And that if I have concerns, you'll hear from me because that's what I do.
Sometimes people submit them and they have the logo but not the language, or the language but not the logo, and we just have to go back and make sure we've followed all the rules there. And of course we want those to really shine. So if we see any like grammatical errors or things like that, we'll point those out. And you can also, if you have a draft of something that you want us to review before you submit it, that works too. You just let us know.
And I would say that smaller files such as photos or charts and tables, or maybe some sort of file or document or spreadsheet that supports your report but isn't necessarily information product, that gets uploaded into the body of your report. And there are places where you can do that.
Yeah, directly into the narrative. You can copy and paste things in. You can add photos or screenshots. Yeah. Super. Okay. I see we've got some stuff in the chat. Let me just see. Yep, we've got a question and answer. Thanks, Marie, for tackling that one about the size limit on photos, 150 megabytes. Super. Okay.
That's all files, so not just photos, which you might have trouble with if you're trying to upload a video file. Let's
Yeah, that's
shoot a
true.
video on your iPhone and you're just like, oh, I'll just upload this video to my report. There's 150 limit. So if that happens, if you do have a longer video, what we prefer and suggest is that you upload it to YouTube and then link that to your report.
But if that's a stumbling block for you, be in touch. We can help troubleshoot that. Any other questions before we split out into some breakout rooms to connect and share?
Um, Even with the photo disclaimer from the parents, are we allowed to put the back or the, backside or of the students? I'm,
Excellent
that's the
question.
biggest, question I have.
Get it. Marie, do you want to take that one?
I would say what we're looking for and what we're concerned about is publicly identifiable. So if the youth individual is, their back is in the photo, and you can't, discern who they are necessarily, that might be okay. If they're wearing something that has something about their location or, a jersey with their name on it or their school team name, like then we might be more concerned. So I would answer it kind of depends. But generally what
Yeah.
we're looking for is nothing that would be publicly identifiable for you.
Yeah, no tracking details and things like that. Yeah. I mean, like their hands and, all those kind of things. So, their back of their body and things like that.
I appreciate your creativity there, and remember that, we're most interested, while we love photos of your projects, just to be excited with you. Probably the most useful photos would be ones that highlight, Gary, I'm thinking about your project. You've made this garden on wheels to have other educators be able to see the products, like the materials you're using, the end thing, I don't know what to call it, but the thing that you're taking into the classrooms. um I think that could be just as useful as kids using engaging with
Right.
the materials.
Mhm. Yeah, I have those pictures too. So I was
Nice.
just like, I kind of captured almost all the moments.
Oh, I
So,
love that.
and the good thing was the teacher was adding a little bit of the microscopy part, and she is a microbiologist, and she wanted to add that. The kids were so excited to see all
Oh,
those in
that's
the
great.
yeah.
Gotta love a microbiologist teacher. Hey. Very good. Well, any other questions out there lingering?
I'll just add, when it comes to these kind of questions about photos and videos, it can get a little nuanced and you might get confused or not know exactly how to proceed. Contact Liz or I, and we're happy to work through it with you, talk about it.
Yeah,
Sure.
good
Yeah.
question. Super. Well, my proposal is, if you can stay on, stay on. We're going to split you out into breakout rooms. If you can't, we totally understand. In the breakout rooms, I was just imagining kind of a simple, how's it going with your project? Something that's beautiful, your rose, a thorn, something that's not really working, but you're learning from it, and a bud, something you're hoping will grow as you go forward. I like the rose thorn bud. Or you can just chit chat. I'm gonna stop the recording. I guess I should say, thank you for making time to think about your reporting. Thank you for the good work you're doing on your projects. It matters, and we're grateful that you're doing it. And we're here to help. So don't hesitate to reach out and let's chat through whatever's going on so that we can make sure your project is well supported. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.